Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Yang, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrating to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the little bell on the side, so once you have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insight. Now in this video, I would like to answer a very frequent asked question, whereby I frequently being commented and leave a comment and also receiving email from different people. Basically the question is like this: I've got someone who would like to employ me. Can I get a work visa? Okay, now it's actually very common, because first of all, there are a lot of international students in Australia while study or graduated with a graduate work visa, and during the term, obviously there will be a discussion between the employee and the employer whether there is a nomination or sponsorship required to extend the visa. So it's a very common questions, and there's also people who are actually offshore, not in Australia, and perhaps being offered for a job, for employment in Australia. And how do you get the visa? Now generally it's actually a very easy answer, but because of the complexity of the law and regulation, it actually get really complex. Sometimes I find it intriguing, because once the employer understand how the whole procedure works and how all the fees required, the job offer being terminated. Anyway, let's check out how it will actually affect or impact you in the future. Okay, I've actually done a lot of visa videos in regards to work visa and things, but I would like to just generally answering this typical question and going into some of the technicality of the law in regards to it. So I'm referring this to the temporary skill shortage visa subclass 482 medium term, although there's a short term, and perhaps in the future they are going to combine them, because they are looking in a way, government is looking in a way to restructure the visa program to make it more friendly. Now I've done a specific video on that one, and I comment on that one. Well, if you want to make it friendly, why did you make it unfriendly before? Anyway, let's check out the current system. So the first thing you would like to see, and I would like to share with you, is that once I click this little radio button at the top of myself, I right up there, and switch it to sponsor, and we need to find out first of all whether the sponsor is able to actually sponsor you. So the eligibility will be there. The first thing is the sponsor a standard business sponsor? Well, general term, of course they are standard business, but there is a specific detail required to be a standard business sponsor. Generally, the business has to be lawfully and operational in Australia, and they have submit all the tax papers and demonstrating that they are not in a major loss position. So it's actually very hard for an employee to request this, because obviously no boss will provide their financial to their employee. Agree? So you need a specific someone or third party to actually assist you. So may need a professional agent or lawyer to actually be contacted. Obviously fees required. So again, it's not a direct answer. Although the employer do want you to work there, and you do want to work there too, but it's not a direct answer. It's never a direct answer. It has to be intermediary, an agent or professional lawyers in the between, get the visa done. And the visa is so complex. Let's check it out. So first thing, you need to get that standard business sponsor for the actual employer and the worker at eligible occupation. So what is your occupation? Now this is the key. Some people saying I think they get offered, they will get a visa straight away. It's not like that. Okay, first of all, the business itself offer a job. A job has an occupation title, and that title directly reflect to your background. So for example, if your background is back in financial, for example, accounting, financial economists, or things like that, or banking. But your employer in Australia is actually a restaurant. Well, will that work? Of course, no, that will not work. You need to match it up. A lot of people thought, as long as I get a job offer, I'll get a visa. No, it doesn't work that way. And thirdly, you are required to demonstrate, employer required to demonstrate that they cannot find an Australian worker. Okay. Anyway, there is a specific testing. I've done a specific video on that one in regards to labor market testing. You may want to check that out. So basically, the employer needs to demonstrate that they have put on certain numbers of job advertisements, and showing that through the advertisement and recruitment activities, they cannot find anyone locally to actually work there, and that's why they need you. Right? Okay. It's a very interesting way to actually do that, and you need to offer a pay at a at a rate that's acceptable. It's a genuine position that actually reflect back to the eligible occupation. Now, again, if you're a restaurant, you can only offer a job for a chef or a restaurant manager. Of course, you cannot offer a job for IT profession for a restaurant. So it has to be genuine position there. Engage in a written contract. So again, the professional lawyer can actually assist on that one, and no discriminatory and the fair work stuff there. Now let's come back up here and let's change that little radio button to the applicant, and let's check it out. Now, of course, there's an employment requirement, and there is also the employee, who is the visa applicant's requirement there too. So if you're in Australia, you need to hold certain visa, and you have comply all the visa conditions, and you need to find an approved sponsor. How would you find that out? I mean, if you go into work and the first thing you ask for your boss or the HR manager is, are you a standard business sponsor? They will go, why would I hire you if your first question is like this? So again, it's a very hard part to actually get done, but at the end you need to find that out ultimately. So I think a third party interaction for a professional agent or lawyer in there is much better, because it's very weird for an employee to ask the employer, are you approved sponsor? They might as well just saying this, look, perhaps because the complexity of visa procedures, we need a professional agent lawyer to assist. So why don't we refer to someone who could assist? Then get that agent or professional lawyers to actually question that back to the employer, rather than the employee do it itself, because it's not really respectful in a way for the employment an environment to ask your boss whether or not they are approved sponsor. Okay, work for your nominating employer. That's pretty obvious. Now the reason they put this here, because they are agencies. It has to go through a labor agreement. They are recruitment agency where they recruit people and work somewhere else. It's a different structure rather than a standard sponsor. So you can't do that with a standard business sponsor. And of course, the visa applicant required to hold a relevant skill, qualification, and employment background. So what does that mean? So that basically will mean, and I'd like to discuss together with that at least 2 years of work experience. So for example, again, let's come back to that restaurant scenario. The owner of the restaurant required to have a chef. So the chef required to have that qualification, okay, and at least the post qualification, they need to have at least 2 years of work experiences. So that will actually make it available to be sponsored there. So that is the key requirement there. Now, the reason they have this positive skill assessment, although most of the applicant is not required to have positive skill assessment, is that certain countries do require to go through a mandatory skill assessment. For example, I think there are certain countries, for example, in South Africa, Hong Kong and China, and where else? I think India is required to go through if your qualification and experiences is back home. But for example, if you're Indian passport holder, for example, but you have studied cookery in Australia, and you after you graduate, you have 2 years of work experiences. Do you still need to go through positive skill assessment? No. The question would be no. Then, because your qualification was gained in Australia, so there's a two-way to show. So coming back here, I want to summarize here very quickly is that the question people frequently ask is that, well, I got a job offer, I got an employment, can I get a visa? Now, there is certainly, obviously, people would like to have a direct answer, but due to the complexity of the visa itself, as I have demonstrated to show you, the answer cannot be directly provided at all. So again, you need to first of all check out whether your boss, the business itself, is actually the approved sponsor. Have they done labor market testing? Have they meet all the requirements that immigration requires? And there is understand the fees required there. And secondly, you need to know that whether or not your skill and background actually meet the requirement too. Otherwise, even if the sponsor is approved sponsor, they cannot even sponsor you. If you don't have a 2-year work experiences and you don't have the right relevant background, you cannot do that too. Some sponsors do. There's another question. Some sponsors do ask the applicant, the employee, to actually go get a qualification, and then they will sponsor you. Now, that is, I do not recommend that. First of all, because if you take that opportunity or take that route, once you have that, for example, let's take a restaurant scenario again. Now, the restaurant owner asks you to just go get a cookery, qualification, and then you went there and you transfer yourself to a student visa, get a cookery course completed. Now the question is, now your 2-year work experience has to be a post qualifications. So after you got your cookery course done, completed, you're still required to go through 2 more years of work experience in order to meet the requirement to actually lodge this work visa under the subclass 4A2. So that is totally a wrong way to deal with. You cannot just get yourself used to be long years ago, not anymore. You cannot do that anymore. So here we go. That's how complex it is. So there's no direct answer of yes or no. You need to dig in and do more research yourself, and I hopefully this video will actually help you out. Anyway, should you have more questions, more welcome to leave a comment right down below, and I'll see you next video. Goodbye.